metalheads, and welcome to another episode of the Harsh Vocals Podcast. I am your host, Justin Corbett, and with me is Christian Renner. How are you doing today, man?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Another couple of weeks of amazing music releases, as expected.
Yep. Yep, it just doesn't stop.
I kind of thought it was going to. Like, we've had a couple of weeks where things were just okay, and like this week, it certainly looked like there wasn't going to be much to be excited about, but you and I have already started listening to things. We found several albums that were just incredible, so I don't know. Yep. 2024 is just the year that will not stop.
Nope. It's the year that keeps on giving.
Yep.
And I will be absolutely shocked if, 10 years from now, we don't look back at 2024 and go, God damn, wish we could get another year like that.
I don't think there'll be another year like this in our lifetime, probably, to be honest.
Yeah, it's going to be awfully tough to match this year. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, so this week we decided for the podcast that the theme we're going to go into is metal and pop culture. I picked that because the Olympics are going on and Gojira opened the ceremonies, which was like a massive thing for the heavy metal community. We did kind of touch base on it a little bit during the last episode when Carrie joined us, but I don't think we really deep dived on it. And at that time, none of us had actually seen the full performance, and now, of course, we have. So we'll talk more about that a little bit when we get to the actual topic for the episode. But before we get there, of course, let's go ahead and talk about our favorite music from the past 2 weeks. So we're actually going to start with one of my picks this time. This is the band Kyuss, K-A-Y-A-S. They put out an album called By the Moon and the Stars. It's melodic death metal from Canada with a little bit of Blackened influence. They're actually an unsigned band, and this is their debut album.
Yeah, another unsigned band with this level of quality. We run into this all the time, and it's just shocking.
Yeah.
Like, how can you be this good and be unsigned?
Not only just that they're unsigned, it's that they put out an album where the music is incredible, and the production value is super high. And, the whole album feels like something that was written by a band that's been together for 10 years, not a band that, has only been together for a few. I'm really impressed with this Kyuss album. It's catchy and it's very good, like easy listening sort of death metal. Not really background music like we talked about last time, but more just kind of like fun death metal.
Yeah, it's kind of upbeat. Do you remember a band called Norther?
Oh, I love Norther. Yeah.
And yeah, they remind me a little of that. If you mix Norther with the band Kalma, the Kalma always got lumped into being a Children of Bodom clone. Norther did kind of as well, but I thought they were both heavier than Children of Bodom. But if you mix Norther with Kalma, I think you kind of get Kyuss.
Yeah, I like that
that's
comparison.
How I feel.
I feel like they are a lot akin to Norther, but maybe a little bit heavier, at least in the vocal delivery. The vocals are a lot deeper sounding than what Norther does. And then on top of that, the song material is just darker in general. A lot of the Norther songs were just fun, but you still get that fun here too. So it's a pretty great album if you haven't had a chance to check it out. Again, it's called By the Moon and the Stars. The first track that we're going to play is Reflections in the Water. So we'll go ahead and play that now. Hope you guys enjoy it. Yeah, I really dig the opening of that and the end of that. It's I think it's the first single they actually released for the album too. So it's a really good example of what the album is kind of like. You get those fun elements, you get those like dueling guitar kind of things going on. I really enjoyed this album a lot.
It's a fantastic album for listening in the car.
Yeah, it's a great driving album.
I mean, driving album. And I mean, you were just on a trip, so I'm sure that helped.
Yeah. I took a week-long trip to Branson, Missouri, to the Ozarks. It was a lot of fun, actually, but I did spend 13 hours on the road both ways, and I did listen to a lot of music.
Well, at least you had plenty to go.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, let's move on. The next pick is one of Christian's. This is the band Rise of Kronos. You want to tell us about this?
Alrighty, we got Rise of Kronos. The album is called Where the Gods Return. This is death with a little bit of thrash metal mixed in from Germany. The track that I picked was Hateful Fury. And this band was formed in 2010 as a band called Surface. They changed their name in 2021. I'm not exactly sure why. It didn't really go into detail about why they did. But, you know, to change your band name after 11 years, I'm not exactly sure why you would do that. Other than, like, Surface doesn't really sound metal, and this is definitely a metal.
I read there was a conflict with another band that had already registered something similar, so they had to change it.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, Surface doesn't sound like a death metal band either. There's that band Withering Surface. That sounds more deathy. Yeah. Yeah, well, if you add Withering in front of it, I guess. Yeah. This is the fourth album, but this is the first as Rise of Kronos. This album has, like, riffs for days, and like most thrash metal, it has a little bit of punk vibe in the drumming.
Yeah.
And I love punk music. I will freely admit that. And you add a little bit of punk into my thrash metal, you know, that the way DRI did, you know, in the crossover. But this is not crossover, just so people are aware. This is not a crossover album. The vocals are kind of samey throughout, but it just matches the tone of the album. Like, it's perfect for what it is. I mean, you could probably change it up a little bit here or there, but you don't really have to. This is just a really solid, fun album, kind of like the Caius album. Yeah. This is just a fun album to listen to. And I really, really like this album. It just got more and more play for me as the week went on. There's only one other album this week that actually, you know, eclipsed it for me wanting to go back, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, this is a fantastic album. I really like this one.
I really like this one too. It's kind of funny. We were on the road trip, and I had listened to 4 or 5 of the new releases prior to this one, and they had all had intro tracks, and I was getting very frustrated with the intro tracks. And then, of course, this one comes on, and it has an intro track as well, and I was ready to, like, just pull over and scream. But once you get past the intro track, the album is incredible. You know, like Christian said, it's death and thrash, very punchy guitars, like you kind of expect from thrash. But a lot of the singing is in death metal stylings, and it's all very understandable. You don't get a whole lot of, like, the cookie cutter, guttural kind of sounds. You just get kind of traditional, straightforward death metal, but it's intelligible. I really dug this album a lot. I played it several times. It's high energy, super aggressive, just a lot of fun.
And, you know, the intro track thing, like I was texting you earlier, I really think it just could be... Maybe some of the listeners could chime in on the website or something and let us know if they get annoyed by intro tracks as well, because I'm starting to think that it's maybe just us, because we listen to so much music that... Like, if you've heard 8 intro tracks off of 8 albums in a row, it starts to get annoying.
Well, it's so weird because, like I said, I listened to several before I got to this one, and more than one of them had really beautiful guitar work in the intro tracks, and, you know, like, excellent production, and, you know, the songs felt like they went on too long. Some of them were 2 or 3 or 4 minutes, but you'd hear this intro track, and it's really beautiful and everything, and then it gets to track 2, and it sounds like you're listening to a totally different guitarist recording in his mom's basement off of a fucking terrible microphone. I mean, we listen to black metal and death metal, and that's part of the, you know, the sound that we can kind of expect sometimes, but it's very misleading when you put this highly polished intro, and then you lead into something that sounds like, you know, terrible production. I hate that. it's like a bait and switch. If I'm getting bad production, I don't necessarily hate that, but I want to hear that from the beginning, not be misled to think that it's going to end up being something that it's not. And I mean, Christian has less tolerance for the bad production than I do anyway, so it's probably even more frustrating for him.
Oh, I do not like, but I cannot look past bad production. I just can't do it. Not in today's day and age where you can record a phenomenal sounding album in your bedroom. I mean, there's no reason for it. Just make your stuff sound intelligible. Come on, it doesn't have to be. And hey, this Rise of Kronos, fantastic production.
Yeah, it really is.
There we go.
So let's go ahead and play the track then. Again, this is Rise of Kronos. The album is Where the Gods Return, and the name of the track is Hateful Fury.
All right, some Rise of Kronos. That's a fantastic track for that album. It just instant, adrenaline.
From the very beginning.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, bringing things back down to a slightly more somber type of music. The next pick is mine, and it's the band Immorium. They put out an album called Rosewater Black. This is melodic death metal from Australia. It's their third full length since 2011. They're actually an unsigned band as well. This album kind of fluctuates between slower paced, somber, doomy sort of death metal stylings and like very aggressive blackened death metal sort of stylings. And it's one of those albums that just oozes emotion from the very first riff all the way to the end, which, as our listeners know, I'm a tremendous fan of. The more emotion you can actually feel coming out of the music, the more I'm going to appreciate and love your album. This one is one that I didn't even have on my register because I thought it was an EP. It comes in at 5 tracks and 35 minutes, but it is considered a full album. So Christian talked me into giving it a shot, and actually Christian was pestering me. He was like, this is something you're going to love. You need to listen. So I finally gave in and listened, and sure enough, he was right. This skyrocketed to the top of my list, and it's one that I've gone back and listened to many, many times. How do you feel about this one, Christian?
If it wouldn't have been a pick for you, it would have been a pick for me. But my first listen to this album, I was like, son of a bitch, this is like Justin's wheelhouse right here. Because the main thing that I noticed from it is some of these songs sound like physical pain. That, you know, the emotion that's in this, it's palpable. So well done. And, you know, the production helps in that as well. But, you know, the songwriting in this album it's fantastic. It's really, really good. This here's one of those albums, I'll never complain about an album being too short to a certain extent. I think a perfect, you know, time frame for albums is 30 to 45 minutes in that range right there. But I could seriously listen to an hour of this and not get tired of it.
Yeah.
I really like this.
Yeah, there's definitely room for more, and I'm hoping that, you know, they'll expand on it and maybe make a longer album on their next one. But again, these guys are unsigned, so hopefully they get discovered sometime soon and get picked up by a label, because they definitely have the chops for it.
Yeah, there's no reason for this band to be unsigned, but, you know, we run into that every single week. And for this, well, would you say this is their third album? I didn't go back and check out their other ones, but if their other ones are as good as this, holy cow, how? It's
just flooring when you come across bands like this that are super talented and have made multiple albums and somehow not been discovered by a label yet. So,
well, especially when you have, you know, bands like Five Finger Death Punch out there, and they have a record label.
Well, you know, we said metal.
I guess I shouldn't shit on them, but
metalcore is not a bad word, but there's a lot of mall metal, as we like to call it, that you know, is popular. That's one of the things this podcast exists for, is to try to, like, hopefully guide people that like that kind of stuff to maybe appreciating better quality type of music. I mean, there's so much good extreme metal that comes out every single week, as you know, if you listen to the show.
Yeah.
And if you're even vaguely interested in it, I mean, all the time I get messages and comments and replies from people that listen to the show saying, oh my God, I discovered this band because of you, or, oh my God, I love that you guys played that track. They're one of my favorite bands now. And it's such a cool feeling interacting with our fans and having them tell us that, you know, what we're putting out there matters. And the bands too. We've had a lot of feedback from the bands appreciating what we've said and talking about their albums and getting them more exposure to the community. So I just love everything we're doing and how it's being perceived.
Yeah. Because, I mean, it's not like we started this because, you know, we were trying to get some Joe Rogan money, because that's not going to happen in a metal podcast. But, you know, I love heavy metal music. It's been my passion since I was 11 years old. And, you know, I remember at 11, my mom telling me this is a phase I'm going through.
Right.
And I was talking to my mom a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, yeah, that phase is... Yeah, it's gotten worse, if anything, because I probably listen to heavier shit now than I did when I was 11. So
when I was like
that kind of tells
a teenager, I was super into, you know, Nine Inch Nails, Metallica, you know, and we've already talked about that a lot on the previous episodes. But it's funny because, you know, my parents were so against that kind of music back then. And then a few years ago, my dad discovered Metallica, and now he's like the biggest Metallica fan you'll ever come across. It's hilarious. But even more so, it's like when I started the show and the website and everything, just in casual conversation, I told them what it was going to be about. And they're like, death metal, black metal. What's wrong with you? And I'm just like, this is my passion. I've loved this my whole life, and it's not going to go away.
And it's nowhere near as evil as people think it is.
Right. Definitely not. Anyways, let's go ahead and play a track again. This is the band Immorium off of their album Rosewater Black. This is the first track of the album. It's called No Returning to the Fallen. It's a little bit long, but I hope you guys enjoy it. Man, hopefully you guys got as much emotion out of that as I did. Such a good track, such a good introduction to the album, and something that really does illustrate what the sound is like throughout. As I did mention, there is some diversity. There's slower parts and there's more aggressive, faster black metal sort of parts as well. But if you dug that first track, you will dig the whole album, I'm fairly certain.
Do you know if this is available on vinyl? I didn't really look that up.
It is not. It is one that I would love to have, but unfortunately, not yet.
Yeah, because this seems like a perfect album for wintertime. Just throw on the turntable on a cold day. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really dug this album.
That's another thing we should talk about sometime is like seasonal albums.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Because there's definitely some that fit the specific seasons. But we'll save that for a later show.
Yeah.
All right, so the next band we're going to talk about is one that you picked, Christian. This is Wraithfire. You want to talk about this one?
Sure. We got Wraithfire. The album is called A Fell Peaks and Haunted Chasms. This is black metal from the UK. It's labeled as symphonic. The symphonic elements are kind of, they're there. They're not hardcore symphonic, like Demu does, but like symphonic in the way that Emperor does, kind of in that same type of vein. The track that I picked was Ablaze in Abyssal Frosts. It's one of the more upbeat songs on the album, but there isn't slow plodding songs on this at all. There's another one-man project and a debut. The guy's name is Tom Odell, and if that name sounds familiar at all, he's also in the band Dwaro Delph. And he's also, get this, he's also in a power metal band called Battleborn. I mean, straight up power metal. Not like I listened to Battleborn because I was like, how I don't get that, how you could be like some of this hardcore fucking black metal and then also be in a power metal band, but hey, more power to you.
He's the UK's answer to Jake Rogers is kind of what I think.
I guess. He's also in a band called Gimli and Son of Gloin. Both of those sound
Lord of the Rings
themed to me. Yeah, Lord of the Rings. He's obviously a big fan of Lord of the Rings. This gives me vibes if you mixed like Stormkeep with Emperor. There's a very distinct old school feel to this album, like 1990s, early 2000s black metal.
You can tell that a lot of thought was put into it, making it that way too. I mean, even just with the title and the song names and the artwork that was chosen. I mean, the whole thing feels like it came out in early second wave era black metal times. But I'm a big fan. I really like this album a lot too.
Yeah, it has even in the production, it sounds. I'm not going to say thin because that's kind of a bad word to me, thin production, but it's not as deep as, like Amorphis, let's say. It doesn't have that heavy kind of feel.
It has a little bit of rawness. It's just not super polished. Yeah. And I really dug this. And this here's the album that I was referencing earlier when I said this is just an album that I just kept coming back to. There wasn't anything in general that I was absolutely positively floored by or anything, but taken as a whole, this here is just a fun album to listen to. Maybe I was feeling nostalgic for that era. I'm not sure, but I kept coming back to this, and every single time I listened to it, I liked it just a little bit more. And eventually, I wasn't planning on making this a pick, but I was like, you know what? I probably listened to this album probably just as much as our final pick, and so I had to put it on here. Yeah, I think for me, this would have been my fourth choice as well. Like it was between this and Amorphis, but I really like this. The guy, Tom and Dwaro Delph, Dwaro Delph's always been one of those bands where it's like certain songs are great to me, but albums as a whole, I've never really been able to get into because they kind of coined themselves as epic black metal, and it has like a lot of power metal influence built into the black metal. You can kind of feel it, and sometimes that just doesn't work right for me. This is more of kind of traditional sounding. I like symphonic black metal more, so I really appreciate this project because obviously he's super talented and he's capable of doing just about anything in metal. And much like Jake Rogers, I kind of hope he continues down this symphonic path, or maybe even more of a traditional black metal path, because even with like Jake Rogers, Gallobraid is my favorite of his stuff. I don't necessarily love, Visigoth or like Eternal Champion. I mean, he could do anything, obviously, but some of those are just not for me. And I love the black metal stuff he does because he's just amazing at it. Kind of feel the same way about this guy. So hopefully he makes more albums under the Wraithfire moniker.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and play the track then. Again, this is the band Wraithfire. The album is Of Fall Peaks and Haunted Chasms. And the track is Ablaze in Abyssal Frosts.
Shadows
chilling stuff, man. Chilling black metal. I love it.
Frosty.
It's very frosty. Grim and frosty. That's what we look for.
Yeah. I mean, it really feels like, I mean, you look at the album cover and you listen to it, and I mean, that there was a very first descriptor that I had in my mind was, frosty. And, everybody tries to say, black metal is always cold and dark and,
very few people achieve that sound in it, though. I mean, and it's almost a little cheesy to call it that, at this point.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is a good descriptor. When you say that, people know what you mean. It sounds like an old Emperor or Immortal album, like it was recorded at the heart of winter. So that's what you look for in black metal. All right. Well, moving on. My next pick and my third pick is a band called Curse Upon a Prayer. They're a melodic satanic black metal band from Finland. This is their fourth full-length album since 2014. They're obviously super heavy into the Satanism aspect of black metal because their album is called The Worship Orthoprax Satanism. I don't really care about the the lyrical content so much, but they write great music. It's incredibly captivating. They do a lot of melody changes and tempo changes in the songs that keep things fresh, and they write a lot of long tracks. I do have to say that the track that I picked, I think, is the one that best illustrates what's on this album. It's about 10 minutes long. Sorry for picking such a long one, but it is one of the best tracks on the album and a really good indicator of what the sound is. Did you listen to this one, Christian? What did you think?
I actually really dug this as well. I mean, I think the Satanism stuff gets a little tired after a while, but hey, you do you. I will never complain about. I honestly don't care about lyrics.
Yeah, that's true.
If they're good, they're good. If they're not, they're not. I mean, I like Children of Bodom, and they made a whole career out of bad lyrics.
That's true.
So what are you going to do? What I was super impressed on with this album was how they could sound so incredibly heavy, even in slow tempos.
Right.
Which is usually kind of hard to do because it as soon as you slow down, it usually sounds pretty, or you'll have some sort of melodic guitar lead or something, whenever an album slows down, but this does not. This is heavy as fuck.
Yeah, it really is.
All the way through. They kind of remind me, like, I always try and put bands together that I think that they sound like to give people a better idea. This to me sounds like if you mixed Gorgoroth with Watain. If you mix those two, like they have that super heaviness that Gorgoroth has, but how Watain can every now and then still sound heavy as fuck, but slow the tempos down a little bit and give you a little bit more feeling to it. That's kind of what I got out of this.
My merge, if I had to pick two bands that this reminds me of, it would be like a mixture of Bliss of Flesh and Behemoth. There's a lot of Behemoth influences in here, but there's more melody, way more melody than Behemoth usually has, and the songwriting is very complex. Like, it's not as straightforward as Behemoth is. It's more akin to what Bliss of Flesh does, which, if you heard the last episode, I talked about one of their underrated albums. Plus, the way the guy sings actually reminds me of Bliss of Flesh a lot, because he does that deeper sort of growled black metal singing rather than the shouted type that Nurgle typically does.
Yeah, I could see that. But either way, it definitely has that heaviness. Gorgoroth was, in their early days, they were known for their heaviness. Yeah. Their albums are kind of hit or miss to me, but kind of like Watain too. Some of their albums are better than others, but yeah, I could see definitely Behemoth. There's a definite Behemoth there. Now that you say it.
But it's a fantastic album. I mean, lyrical content aside, if you just listen to the music and vocals, it's killer. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Again, this is kind of a long track, so stick with it. I promise you'll enjoy parts of it, at least, even if you don't like the whole thing. The track is called A Heaven of Hell, off of the album The Worship Orthoprax Satanism from the band Curse Upon a Prayer. Yeah, every single time I hear this track, I just kind of want to go back and listen to the whole album.
Yeah, it's a fantastic album, and I would assume that a lot of people that listen to the show aren't hardcore Christian, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't care for religion one way or the other, whether it's Christian or Satanism. I honestly don't care. Mm-hmm. Whatever helps you get through the day, more power to you.
Yeah, Christian and I are both very non-religious, so I mean, I can listen to satanic stuff. I can listen to Christian music if it's not like super praising, it's fine. Mm-hmm. I just want it to sound heavy and cool. That's my expectation, and this definitely lives up to it. So really strongly recommend checking out A Curse Upon a Prayer. If you like black metal with melodic elements whatsoever, you'll find a lot to appreciate here.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to what Christian and I both agree is the best album of the past 2 weeks, Wormwitch.
Yep. We have Wormwitch, and I'm not sure exactly why they did this, but they self-titled this album, even though it's their fourth of their career. Usually that's, back in the day, that used to be what you did on your debut album. Yep. You would have self-titled, but
I kind of wonder
that doesn't seem to be the case anymore.
I kind of wonder if the reason they did that is because they changed their sound a little bit.
Yeah, I think so, because I'll get there.
Okay.
We have melodic black metal out of Canada. This band was formed in 2015. This is their fourth album, and this is the best album of these 2 weeks. And one thing that like we're just talking about here, they changed their sound a little bit. They ramped up the aggression on this, and this is an aggressive album, and not just aggressive, but really, really well done with that aggression. Mm-hmm. It
just sounds mean all the way through.
Oh yeah. It like if there was an album recorded that you could listen to it and it feels like you just got your ass kicked, this would be it. This feels like they're obviously very, very angry when writing this. I'm not sure exactly what got into them or whatever, but holy shit, are they pissed off? Because this album is heavy. It is aggressive. It's like a punch to the face.
Yeah, it really is. It's definitely their most aggressive album to date, and probably one of the most aggressive albums I've heard this year for sure. So like their old sound, it was a mixture of the melodic black metal, but they also had some very obvious like crust punk influences built into their music. And they had a lot more softer spots in their music that kind of let you breathe a little bit before you got thrown back into the aggression. With this, though, they've taken out all that more soft melody kind of stuff. I mean, there's the tiniest bits of it in a couple of songs towards the end, but it's peppered in there. It's not even like a 30-second little soft spot. It's like 10 or 11 seconds of a reprieve. But the rest of the time, this album is just in your face. It is such an aggressive album. And I mean, if you've never heard Wormwitch before, they've cemented themselves as one of my favorite modern bands. I'm pretty sure they are for Christian as well. Heaven That Dwells Within is just a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. It's an album I go back to all the time. We both have a lot of love for the crust punk kind of mixed in with the black metal. That album is beautiful and melodic and harsh and all the things that I love. It's full of emotion. The year that it came out, I heard it in November, and it ended up in my number 4 spot for the year. That's how good it was. I didn't even have very much time with it. And it's been one that I've returned to over and over and over again. Wolfhex was a step towards this stronger, more aggressive kind of thing, but there was still a lot of the softer melodies sort of in there. And then earlier this year, they did a split with Sadistic Ritual, which it was only 3 tracks, but it was super aggressive and just excellent all around. I spun that album a lot this year, and I don't normally listen to EPs, but I was very excited for that. And then, of course, they're self-titled. Every single they released for it just built my anticipation. And then once they finally dropped it, I was just unsurprisingly blown away. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah.
So good.
And I hope you don't go away from this thinking that it's just wall-to-wall aggression, because there's a lot going on here, but it all stems from that aggression. Mm-hmm. Like you'll have, like you were talking about, a few moments of crust or punk here or there, but it builds from that aggression. And like this album has no weak tracks. They just get better and better the more you listen to it. And it's another one of those albums that the more you listen to it, you'll pick up on other things. which I noticed.
Yeah, they're
Have to shout out the drumming on this album. The drumming on this is some of the best black metal drumming I've heard all year.
Yeah.
I'm a drummer, so I listen to drums primarily when I listen to an album for the first time. If it's got really shitty drumming, I'm already out. But holy crap, I'm not exactly sure how he's going to pull this off live, because he's going to be one tired boy after a show of this.
Well,
the drumming on this is fantastic.
They're all exceptional musicians, and you can definitely tell that just from listening to any of their albums. But not only that, they're very skilled at songwriting, because none of the tracks overstayed their welcome. Yep. They all feel like the perfect length. You know, the aggression is there nonstop, but you do get changes in the music because you're moving from song to song so quickly. So I absolutely love this album. I know Christian does too. Don't be surprised if it ends up in our top 10 or very close to it for 2024. Let's go ahead and play the track.
The track is going to be Bright and Poisonous. This here's one of those tracks that has that little small element of punk in it.
It's a great title too.
One of the only ones that's, yeah. And it sounds a little bit more like a song that could have been on Wolf Hex. Mm-hmm. It has that kind of vibe to it, but still aggressive as fuck. Fantastic song.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and play it. Again, this is Bright and Poisonous off of Wormwitch's self-titled album, Wormwitch.
Wenn ich agiere will, dass die Vögel tot von den Bäumen fallen, dann fallen die Vögel tot von den Bäumen herunter. Ich bin der Zorn Gottes.
I love that part kind of towards like the third quarter of the song where it slows down just a little bit, and they have that little bit of melody.
Yep.
I mean, that's what I was trying to illustrate before, where they just sort of pepper it in. It just adds so much to it. You can tell the songwriting here is just master level. If you've never checked out Worm Witch, absolutely check out their entire discography. They are one of my favorite modern bands, and everything they put out, I love.
And it's a perfect example of what we're talking about, how, you know, they have that spot in there. And, you know, a lot of bands probably would have expanded on that a little bit more, made, you know, added an extra 2 minutes to the song or whatever. It didn't need it.
Right.
And
there's no bloat on this album whatsoever.
Doesn't go there.
Yeah, there's no reason for them to.
They just, you just, okay, that was nice, let's go. And I think the album's better for it.
Yeah, I do too. 9 songs in 41 minutes. It's perfect.
Yep.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to honorable mentions. Christian, I'll let you go ahead and go first.
Alrighty, some of my honorable mentions this week. You know, most people will probably know by now I listen to a little bit wider variety. So my first is Dream Evil, Metal Gods, a heavy power metal out of Sweden. Most people probably already know who Dream Evil is. We don't usually talk about power metal on here. And to be honest with you, this is Dream Evil's first album in about 6 years, and their last couple have been kind of meh. This one here doesn't go back to the glory days of Dragon Slayer, but it's not far off. This is a very solid album. I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. Then we have Vernie, D.D. Vernie side project from Overkill. The album is called Dreadful Company. Now, Metallum has this labeled as death metal / thrash metal, I guess. This is nowhere near death metal or thrash metal. This is pop punk 100%.
Metallum's not always 100% right.
This kind of reminds me like if you metalized Green Day a little bit. You know, like that's what the sound got for me. And I mean, a perfect example, I usually listen to music in the house, and my wife actually yelled up to me and said, "Hey, I really like that one. It's not that horrible music you normally play." So what is that? And so she really dug it. So there you go. Vernie, Dreadful Company. Check it out. If you're into pop punk, even slightly, you'll like it. Then a band called Crypticy, but it's spelled Krypticy. I'm guessing because there's already a Cryptopsy, and you know, I'm guessing they couldn't go there. The album is called The Non-Return. This is death / thrash metal, and thrash kind of in quotes there. It's more death metal than thrash, but there's a few elements of thrash in here. From Spain. And if you like the band Death, this band gave me a lot of Death vibes. Very, very, very strong guitar work on this album that reminded me a little bit of Chuck Schuldiner there. So I really dug this. Orpheus Omega, Ember Glow is the album. We have Mellow Death from Australia. This here's a milder Gothenburg worship, like if Dark Tranquility or In Flames were lighter than they actually are. I think you would get this. I seriously, as I was listening to this, thought to myself, you know, when we had that episode about gateway bands, this here would be a great gateway album.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because there's plenty of clean singing on here, and it's well done. It's just a really good album.
It's an enjoyable album. I just didn't think it was. Yeah. I didn't think it was terribly memorable. And the clean singing, I feel like there is maybe just a little too much, but it's not overbearing. It's not terrible or anything. And I liked it. I mean, it's a fun listen if you like that Gothenburg sound. If you're more drawn towards melodic death metal, this is definitely one I think you'll get a lot out of. But if it's not your preferred subgenre, you know, you may feel more like I do.
Yeah. It definitely has that gateway appeal. So, I mean, I thought it was a little too light in moments. That's why it wasn't a pick. But the songwriting's fantastic, so give it a shot. A band called Uber Hate. The album is called Sunyata. We have some more melodic death metal, but with a little bit of added thrash metal here or there. This band's out of Mexico. Fantastic album. Then we have
they're a Mexican band called Uber Hate.
Yeah, I thought that was odd too, because I would have swore up and down that they were going to be German.
Yeah, I would have too.
But no, from Mexico, which was kind of surprising. Yeah. I'm not exactly sure what that was about, but hey. Then we have Summoning the Lich, Under the Reviled Throne.
That album's
mellow death, but a little bit more death metal to me.
It's like technical death metal with a lot of melodic parts.
Melody.
So this album, I really liked parts of it. I would say like 80% of this album I loved. And they're a band that would really benefit from some editing. If they had less tracks, and if the tracks were just a little bit more succinct, this would have easily been a pick. Because like the parts that are good in this are just stellar. There's too much material and like too many ideas, and it's just not very coherent, I think.
Yeah. I view this as a less concise Cattle Decapitation album.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Like the last Cattle Decapitation album, what was that, Terracite?
Mm-hmm.
It just not as succinct as that album. That album was fantastic from start to finish. This one here, it has some bloat.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. Then we have Laceration. The album is called I Erode. Again, death, a little bit of thrash. From Windsor, California. This reminds me a little bit of Skeletal Remains or Suffocation.
Yeah.
In that range.
It was a good album. I like this one a lot too.
Yeah.
It didn't have quite the staying power that a lot of other things did, I feel like.
Yeah. Then this one here kind of caught me off guard, and I was coming back to this quite a bit too. The band is called Skovblood, Skovblod. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. The album is called In the Shadows of Mountains, and this is death metal, but mixed with some folk influences in there. And this here is an international band. There's some members there from Denmark, some from Germany. But yeah, if you like folk metal at all, and I actually do, there's certain ones that I'm super drawn to.
Yeah,
it's a fantastic album.
I like folk metal too, but I mean, I'm a little bit picky about it, I guess. Like that album, the Fulcher Camera album that came out earlier this year, that was too much for me. But something that has like elements I love typically. So I actually didn't hear this album prior to recording the show, so I'm gonna have to go back and check it out after we're done.
Yeah,
but sounds cool.
I'm not sure if you'll like it, but you might. I don't know.
All right. Well,
that's all of mine.
As far as my honorable mentions, number one for me is a band called Defacement. They put out an album called Duality. It's dissonant death and black metal from the Netherlands. This is their third album. This thing is very inaccessible. It's not an album that if you don't already have an extreme appreciation for dissonant metal, you're going to be able to enjoy. But if you do, I think you'll find a ton to enjoy here. It's really, really masterfully done. It's just not something that's going to be for everybody.
Yeah.
Number two is a band called Cold Cell. They put out an album called Age of Unreason. This is black metal from Switzerland. It's their fifth album. I actually heard the promos for this when AOP was putting them out a few months ago, and I loved the tracks they were using to promote the album. When I heard the full album, it felt a little bit less coherent than I would have liked it to be, but there are still some outstanding tracks on this album, and I need to go back and listen to their full discography because I've never heard them before this album came out. Number three is a band called Void Witch. They put out an album called Horripilating Presence. This is death doom, kind of akin to Insomnium, but with more of a focus on the death side, from Austin, Texas, and this is their debut album as well. Really dug this, and since they're local, I'm hoping they'll come to Houston sometime and I'll be able to check them out live. Next is a band called Brainsore. Like I mentioned several times this year already, that Null album sort of improved my appreciation for grind in metal, and this one is a mixture of death and grind. The album is called The Grip of the Naked Mind. This is their debut album as well, from Italy. Incredibly well done, excellent production. The songs are all very fast and blistering and just kind of what you expect from a grind death band. I enjoyed it a lot. I think if you like that kind of music, you will enjoy this too. Next is True Black Dawn. They put out an album called Of Thick Circling Shadows, the satanic black metal from Finland. This is their third album. Not as cohesive of an album as something like the Curse Upon a Prayer album is, and it doesn't have nearly as much melody. And also the production sounds a little bit thin, as Christian would say, sort of like the old style black metal. But there's a lot to enjoy. It's not a perfect album by any means, but it's definitely worthy of an honorable mention. So if you like black metal, I think you'll like this.
That album actually You remember, I don't even know if they're still active, but you remember a band called Impaled Nazarene?
Yeah, that's actually a good comparison.
Yeah, they reminded me a lot of Impaled Nazarene.
I agree with that. Yeah, so if you like Impaled Nazarene, you'll enjoy this.
They were also very inaccessible.
Yeah, that's true. And then the very last one I have is a band called Septary. They put it on an album called Incinerate This World. It's death metal from Russia, and this is their third album. I think Christian and I both kind of feel like this would have been like the fifth best album of the week.
Yep.
It's very aggressive, heavy death metal. There's melody as well, but it's kind of in the background behind just like the standard sort of death metal sounds. Great riffs on this all the way through. It's a memorable album. Very, very fast and blistering and just in your face and full of that same sort of aggression we're getting from some of these other albums too.
It's one of those albums that, you're listening to it and it's over before you know it.
Yeah, it goes by real quick.
Yeah.
All right, well, that does it for Honorable Mentions. I hope you guys find some new music this week and check it all out. Let's go ahead and move on to our topic. So, as I mentioned before, this week we're going to talk about metal and pop culture. Of course, first we're going to begin by talking about Gojira at the opening of the Paris Olympics. I'm sure you've seen it by now, Christian. What did you think?
Oh, yeah. I thought it was epic as fuck. And, I'm not a big Gojira fan. I think they're okay. They're kind of not for me, but I can definitely appreciate what they do. Mm-hmm. And I just absolutely positively love how Americans got a little bit freaked out. They seem to be the only ones that got freaked out, saying that, why is Satanism in the Olympics all of a sudden? And man, if there's one band that is probably the least satanic metal band you will ever run across, it's Gojira.
Right.
I mean, how many songs do they have about whales, for fuck's sake?
Right.
It's like, come on, man. But regardless of that, I'm not exactly sure how they got, picked to do this, but I'm really glad that they did. I thought it was really, really well done. The opera singer mixed into it was fantastic, and doing it on the side of a fucking castle, it doesn't get more epic than that.
Yeah,
man.
so
that was cool as shit. It was cool as shit.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. For anybody who didn't actually see it, you've probably been living under a rock, but just so you know what it was about, Gojira was basically hanging off the side of a castle. They had little platforms they were standing on and these giant chains around their waist holding them in place. And the performance began with a bunch of actresses who were in the windows holding severed heads of themselves representing Marie Antoinette. And the song they performed was actually a folk song from back in the era when Marie Antoinette was around that they had metal-fied. And so, they play the song and, they're jamming out as hard as they possibly can, hanging off the side of a building. They had an opera singer that came out on a boat halfway through and she sang her part. And then at the end, they exploded these cannons at the top and shot these like blood red streamers down all over the side of the castle. So it looked like it was raining blood. And of course, they had giant pyromaniac flames going like 40 feet in the air at the bottom of the castle the entire performance. It was really epic is the only word I could use to describe it. Yeah. Just such a cool visual. Anybody who's a metalhead to any degree had to feel some kind of excitement for seeing that live, because how often does metal actually make it into the mainstream pop culture? How often do you get to see something that feels like, for lack of a better word, a death clock moment? If you're a fan of Metalocalypse, something massive that the whole world got to experience, whether they were a metalhead or not. It's just incredibly cool.
I mean, you're talking probably billions of viewers, watching opening ceremonies across the world. And for Gojira to, and not just for them to do it, but to crush it like that. That was fucking crushing.
Yeah, they absolutely killed it.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of them, but my black heart was cheering. So there you go.
I was too, man. I probably like Gojira more than you do in a weird turnabout. But I don't like all their albums, but there are definitely some that I love. But I'm pretty sure they were picked because they are the most successful metal band in France. Yeah. I mean, they could have gone with Seth or they could have gone with Griffin or somebody like that. And I mean, even though their music more fits the performance, I guess, that they were doing, then, the Satanic Panic would actually have something to talk about, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, if you picked Seth, they would, it would probably still be being talked about at this moment. But I'm sure, some of the people that were Satanic Panic here in the States, I'm willing to bet they got smacked down pretty quick about, like, the fuck? Gojira?
Well,
satanic? What the fuck are you talking about?
You're not
just because shit's heavy doesn't make it satanic.
You're not quite as involved in the metal Twitter as I am, but Satanic Panic is still happening. I mean, it's alive and well in the US. Somebody wrote up a think piece about Cannibal Corpse lyrics shortly after the Olympic opening ceremony, and now everybody's running with that again. They're just like, oh my God, this is the most vile thing I've ever read, and it's about raping corpses and, decapitating children. And yeah, I mean, it's death metal. Like, it's always been there. It's, nothing new. But
and just an FYI, Cannibal Corpse did that for shock value.
Right.
That's the whole point. To get you talking about it, because non-metalheads would talk about it. And non-metalheads would, next thing you know, they're on the news. And I can, this will actually go into this. I was a metal fan during the PMRC days when that was going on in the 80s. And just an FYI, I had not heard Wasp before that, but they were talking about it and saying this is some of the most vile stuff. Animal fuck like a beast. What? And I was, 13-year-old me was like, I don't know who that is, but I'm going to find out.
Yep.
And, I was all about it. That did more for Wasp than Wasp did for Wasp.
True.
And during that time also, you had people like Dee Snider who showed up and, everybody was thinking that some long-haired hippie with, cut-off jeans jacket and, jeans. And he goes up to the table there and he's got a prepared statement that he pulls out of his pocket like he's giving a book report in 7th grade or something, and he just unfolds it and stuff. You can find this clip on YouTube if you want to, and that speech that he gave was so insanely well done.
Yeah, it really was.
I mean, just a ton of people were, floored that were in the room. They were expecting somebody just to go off, oh, fuck you, and that didn't happen. He was clear, he was concise. He told him that some of the lyrics that they were saying is so dangerous from Twisted Sister. It's like, Under the Blade, if you really look at the lyrics, you're taking them out of context. If you look at the lyrics, it's about surgery. It has nothing to do with murdering somebody. And any person with 7th grade reading comprehension can read those lyrics and see the exact same thing.
Unless your name's Tipper Gore. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you only read, oh, look at this one verse. Well, that one verse is kind of bad. And so I definitely get it. So metal in the mainstream it's kind of difficult. It was more in the mainstream in the 1980s. My formative years in metal.
But metal was very different back then. I mean, even, there were stadium shows. People were selling out and making enough money to live comfortably for the rest of their lives and being in bands. Yeah. That doesn't exist anymore. Everybody knew who Metallica was. Everybody still knows who Metallica is, Back in the 80s and 90s, you would get little snippets of metal kind of sprinkled into your pop culture, but it's not even... You don't even see that much anymore these days. Usually, if there is something metal related or metal adjacent in pop culture, it's specifically targeted towards metalheads. Like we had the Lords of Chaos movie come out. That movie was not general release. It was not something that, regular people were going to go see. It's not even entirely, factual or accurate compared to the book, but every metalhead I know has seen it and was excited to see it.
Yeah, I saw it.
You get things like Metal Lords that came out on Netflix. Regular.
I actually really like that movie.
Regular people aren't watching that.
It was a good movie.
I mean, it's not the best ever, but it's got some great moments in it. But I mean, it's not targeted towards the general audience. It's specifically targeted towards metalheads. And I mean, even...
And I mean,
go ahead.
So every now and then I get a little annoyed with... It seems like... people have this image of what a metalhead is. And, like that Netflix movie, Metal Lords, it plays. I liked the movie. Don't get me wrong. I liked it. It was an enjoyable watch, but I do tend to get a little annoyed with the, they always got to go back with Satan. Mm-hmm. They always got to go that maybe metalheads aren't the smartest, And hey, as far as me being a fan of this genre, some of the most intelligent people I have ever met have been metalheads.
Definitely.
There's a lot more critical thinking that goes on, so that can get kind of annoying here and there. Like if you like another movie, they always try and make metalheads a little weird, not too bright. You got movies like Airheads.
Yeah, which while it's a really fun movie, it does paint metalheads as like irresponsible, reckless, dumb, fun-loving,
just want to party.
And evil kind of.
Yeah, and you could even throw Wayne's World in there.
Definitely.
That was part of it too. Even though they never really hardcore went into metal, but I think one of the very first ones that I saw that actually took metal seriously, and it was a documentary, but it was The Decline of Western Civilization: The Metal Years, Part 2, and the behind the scenes of that, like when they're talking to Chris Holmes from Wasp, and he's just laying in a pool, and I mean it's kind of sad when you look at it now, but he's laying in a swimming pool on a floaty, and he just guzzles a full bottle of vodka, like just guzzles it. And even then, when I watched that, I was probably 17, 18, something like that. Even then I was like, man, that dude's got some issues.
Yeah.
Like, even as a 17-year-old, I was not like, oh, that dude's cool as shit. That wasn't the case. It was, but it took it seriously, and it took, where metal was coming from and who was doing it at the time, and they took it seriously, and I really appreciated that. It's a really, really good documentary.
There's a lot of good metal documentaries. I mean, even like Dying of the Light is a good comparison to that, I think, because it also takes metal seriously, black metal specifically. But I mean, you watch that and you listen to some speakers like Gall, and he's like, our metal is evil, and it's meant to make people hate themselves and want to kill themselves. And it's like, okay, maybe you're taking it a little too seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I think where movies are concerned, 9 times out of 10 they're funny. You got Detroit Rock City, you got Spinal Tap, you got Rockstar, which was like
those are the ones that are kind of on the fringe.
The story of Judas Priest, kind of, sort of.
Those are the ones that are kind of on the fringe of the mainstream, though. I mean, even going beyond that, I mean, there have been a lot of metal targeted movies that have been excellent. I don't know if you ever saw Dead Ant. Dead Ant's really good. I don't know if you ever saw Hesher. It's pretty solid. It's got Dwayne Wilson. I haven't
seen either of those.
Yeah, they're both very good movies. Of course, the pinnacle of death metal movies is Deathgasm. It's targeted at metalheads and people that like goofy trauma-style horror. If you're listening to this, I'm assuming you've seen Deathgasm, but if you haven't, it's a movie you absolutely need to check out. It's got a great soundtrack. They really care about the music, and you can tell, but they also poke fun at a lot of things regarding metalheads. And the whole like Satan aspect of it. There's actually a second movie that's going to be coming out for too much longer.
Oh, nice.
I'm pretty excited for that.
I think one of the best movies that I've seen in a long time, and it's not actually revolving around metal, but it has metal in it, is Mad Max Fury Road. How badass was that? With
the giant speakers on the truck
strapped
and
to a car,
flames out,
and with a guitar, just playing a guitar. I mean, that's metal as fuck.
It really is.
I was like, son of a, I need a car like that, like, and just paint your face silver and like testify, like, hell yeah. But it wasn't a metal movie per se. But honestly, as far as movies go, I would say that probably the best ones for metal are actually documentaries. And you got probably I think one of the best is Metal: A Headbanger's Journey.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Done by Sam Dunn, because he goes through all the genres, and if you look on YouTube, you can find addendums to that where he actually went into more depth because
he had to.
Yeah.
What he recorded
so
for
many
the
different
documentary, it was as complete of a list as he could make at that time. But metal is ever expanding and ever changing, and there are always new subgenres getting added. And what you'll find in the documentary is a lot of stuff is not included that you would kind of expect to see in the modern age. So, I mean, it's a great documentary. It's one of the best ones out there. But
I actually bought it.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I'm a firm believer in support stuff that you love. And, I would love to see him make a second part of that. I would love to see one where he just goes into fucking death and black metal. I mean, that could be a whole thing all on its own, just because of the sheer variety of stuff there. But I think you'd be given short shrift to this whole topic of conversation if you didn't mention Headbangers Ball. That was the kind of the pinnacle of metal in the mainstream. I tuned in every Saturday. I watched it. I was always disappointed because a lot of the bands that I listened to weren't on there. But there's a lot of LA glam bands on there a lot. But every now and then they'd play some Megadeth, they'd play some Metallica, Slayer every now and then. So it definitely put it out there, and more people knew about it. And I
used to watch it too. I mean, I grew up watching it when I was in middle school, and I remember Beavis and Butthead would come on right after it, and they always had videos too where they would. I mean, it wasn't necessarily about the music, but the music got exposure because they would make fun of it.
Butthead is what killed glam metal.
Yeah, that
because they always had the nerdy. Yeah, the nerdy kid was always wearing a Winger shirt, it's and they were constantly making fun of him.
Yep.
And so, I was like, I mean, even Winger said that. They said in an interview one time that I saw where they were like, yeah, we were watching Beavis and Butthead and noticed a nerdy kid wearing a Winger shirt, and we're like, oh crap, it's over. Because this is so popular that people are going to pick up on it, and Winger is Winger. Let's just be honest. It's not the pinnacle. It's not terrible, but it's not. It's nothing that would champion. Just put it that way.
I don't think many people were in the 90s. That's why Mike Judge started making fun of them.
Yeah, there was a glut of glam bands, late 80s, early 90s, and to the detriment of metal as a genre, to be honest. And it kind of hurt more than it helped, because it was way more about how cute you were than, how good your album is.
And honestly, I think that's why, at least in America, the culture changed so much, because people were tired of it, like just exhausted of it. And then grunge came out, which was like the final nailing glam metal's coffin. But grunge was not sustainable for some reason. The phase only lasted for a few years, and then hip hop became the prevalent music styling in America. And it's like, that's what everybody listens to now, is pop music and hip hop. There's really not, a big presence of metal or any other genres of music here, I don't think.
I think the reason that grunge wasn't sustainable is there's something I've kind of noticed about, I've lived in Europe and I've lived here, and the differences between Europe and here are, here everything is, people like to be more happy. You look for happiness. It's one of those things and grunge was depressing. A lot of the music was depressing and like, this is all shit. And yeah, you can go in phases like that, but that's not sustainable for a long term. And, upbeat music was going to be more, and I think that's why, glam metal kind of took over in the mid and then to the last part of the 1980s. Glam metal just exploded, Bon Jovi and all this stuff. And it was because it was fun. It was a fun summer kind of record that you want to listen to. I mean, I remember clearly the 1986 Monsters of Rock in Germany, which I attended. Bon Jovi was one of the openers. They were second band up, I believe. And in 1987, the Monsters of Rock, they headlined. That's how quick Slippery When Wet just took over.
Yeah.
And I get it. That's actually a really good album. I can't front. I have it. I have it on vinyl. It's a fun album, and it's a good summertime album, and I think that's what America kind of looks towards, and so I think it's kind of gravitated towards that. There's people smiling, you know.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, with grunge, you're definitely right that it was negative. It was, you know, making statements about all the things that were stupid and how people were dumb, and, you know, the darker side of music, I guess. And I mean, obviously, music can go way darker than what grunge did because you and I listen to it daily. Yeah. But the general average music listening American listens to pop or hip hop or techno or something like that, you know, where it is upbeat and they're singing about parties and drinking and hanging out with their friends and, you know, positive life affirming things. So, I mean, I guess that is probably what did kill the grunge, you know, looking at it.
Well, I mean, a perfect,
so far removed
perfect
from
example. Perfect example, the line from Soundgarden, I'm looking California, but I'm feeling Minnesota. That tells you everything that you need to know about grunge right there in a single line. And that's the way it was. I mean, honestly, I was never a big fan of grunge. I didn't really care for it because I don't know, maybe, you know, that didn't really speak to me. I liked soaring guitar solos. I like to smile. I like to
you
have
were
a good
older.
time. And
you were older when it came out. I mean, I was entering into my appreciation of music when grunge hit it big, you know. I never really lived through the glam metal phase. I came into music at the end of it, and you know, I'm not that much younger than you, but the age difference definitely plays a role there, I think, because I love a lot of grunge bands, and without those grunge bands I probably wouldn't be the metal fan that I am.
See, and I think because of my age is one of the reasons that I'm a huge AC/DC fan. I love AC/DC. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people complain that they haven't written a new album since, you know, Back in Black, which, okay, I can see that argument, but they do what they do, and they do it extremely fucking well. And it's catchy, it's fun, they just have a ton of great songs. And I think part of that gets, like, the era that you were born in. I'm going to assume that you probably like AC/DC, but you're not a huge fan.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, you know, and I think it's, you know, a younger generation, it's kind of hard to click with. But I've definitely noticed, you know, when they're showing clips of AC/DC, I can't believe they're still touring. But when you see them play live and you see the amount of people bringing their kids and their kids having a great time.
Yeah.
It's and to think AC/DC at one time was considered satanic, just throwing that out there.
I do feel like there's a little bit of a resurgence in classic rock, especially with the younger generations. Like, I know my stepson, he's 15, he's really big into classic rock. A lot of his friends are. You know, you go to Walmart or Target, you see classic rock t-shirts, you know, lining the shelves. I think that somewhere there's somebody pushing for it to make a return, which, you know...
See, I think so too.
Like, rock and roll is the precursor to metal, so if you like rock, you'll eventually find an appreciation for metal, hopefully. But I mean all of it's better than hip-hop, in my opinion.
Yeah. Like bands like Greta Van Fleet getting a serious push. So, you know, it's definitely there, and there is some in mainstream, but it's definitely rock, not really metal. Right. I don't know of any modern metal band outside of Metallica that actually has, you know, that you would ask a random person on the street, hey, do you know this band?
I can think of one.
Most people will...
Gojira.
Yeah, well, Gojira.
Everybody knows Gojira now.
Like, hey, if you ask a random person, hey, have you heard the new Cattle Decapitation album? They would just look at you like, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, it's very true.
So, but, you know, we could actually even take this further. Like, one of the things that I've always noticed, like, you probably not because you're not a sports fan at all, but I'm a huge sports fan. I love football. I love American football. I love European football. So, and what's shocking to me every fucking year is the Super Bowl is usually they have pop and hip hop groups doing the halftime show. Now, if you go to any American football game, in between plays when they're playing music over the PA or whatever, it's almost always metal. Always. It'll always be Metallica. I've even heard Anthrax on occasion. But always, hard rock or heavy metal being played, coming in and out of, TV timeouts and stuff like that. And so it's always shocking to me, or hockey especially. Hockey has a ton of metal being played. But it doesn't get any push for like the
performances,
the halftime show for the Super Bowl. I'm not exactly sure why that is, but it gets played there a lot. So I've always noticed that, and I'm sure you've probably noticed this here or there. But heavy metal in video games, that seems to be. I don't want to say it's picking up.
Well, it's always been there. So like. Yeah. I mean, maybe not always, but it's been there for as long as like video games have been massively consumed. I mean, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater had a shitload of metal. Doom has a metal soundtrack. Quake. I mean, Trent Reznor built the Quake soundtrack, and I mean, it's very metal. I don't know if you've seen like the latest Doom Medieval trailers, but I mean, it looks metal as hell. There's a lot of representation of that type of music in video games. I think that's the one like area of pop culture where it is well represented. TV, it's kind of here or there. I mean, you got things like Metalocalypse, which are amazing. You've got cameo type stuff in shows where they played Metallica and Stranger Things. That's probably the most before Gojira. Yeah. That was probably the most wide scene metal performance sort of thing, and that wasn't even. It was basically a guy faking playing Metallica on top of a trailer.
Hey, but that scene was cool as shit.
It was a cool scene.
Yeah.
Movies, I mean, we kind of already talked about a lot of them. The metal specific movies are cool, but they're few and far between. A couple we didn't mention.
Detroit Rock City.
Yeah, Heavy Trip is a really good one. Even some older ones like The Gate. It's a horror movie, but it's a heavy metal centric horror movie. It's great. The Devil's Candy came out a few years ago. That's another horror movie. That's one thing I'm honestly a little bit surprised about is like heavy metal and horror kind of go hand in hand in my mind. There's a lot of overlap, but like I know a ton of horror fans who don't like heavy metal at all, and I know a ton of heavy metal fans who don't like horror at all. And I feel like there's probably 20 horror movies that are very heavy metal influenced or have a lot of that type of music in them. But that seems like an exceptionally low number considering the overlap between the themes of the genres. I feel like there should be just hundreds of heavy metal horror movies out there.
You would think. I mean, what was that one that the Foo Fighters did?
Oh, Studio 666.
Yeah. I never watched it.
It's all right. I mean, it's fun.
A lot of people that I know liked it. So
yeah, no, it was a fun movie. I mean, it's not anything terribly original, but I mean, there's a lot of great moments in it. For a modern horror metal movie, it was pretty good. It's no Deathgasm.
Hey, and you can't forget Cannibal Corpse, Ace Ventura.
Yeah, of course.
That was pretty funny.
Well,
I think the only other thing that I had was going back to video games for a second was the game Brutal Legend.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever play that?
I loved that game.
Yeah. It was a fun game. I mean, it was basically Darksiders with Jack Black in it.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Jack Black, we didn't talk about Tenacious D at all. I mean, they're probably the most well known. I mean, aside from like the real big bands like Pantera and Metallica kind of stuff, Tenacious D is probably the most well known metal act outside of like the real metal acts.
Yeah. And hopefully they continue to keep
They will.
going. Not sure exactly what's going on.
Jack Black
there.
put out a statement yesterday saying that they were just going to take a brief hiatus and then they'd resume writing music. So they're good.
Okay.
They're good.
Cool.
It would have been a shame to lose the D.
Yeah. But otherwise, like probably one of the biggest video games for metal was probably Guitar Hero and Rock Band. Mm-hmm. And if you take a look at the sales numbers of, the track packs that they put out, far and away, the leaders were always metal.
Yeah.
It wasn't even remotely close. And I think that kind of speaks to, I think there's quite a few gamers that are into metal and, people that are into metal that, like playing video games here or there.
Definitely.
Like today, as I was listening to new music coming out this week, I was playing Diablo. Season 5 just started. So, hey, if you're out there, we actually have a
Clan in Diablo.
group. Yeah, a clan.
I haven't
It's not very
yeah.
active. I think I'm the only one that's active right now, but
Hey, you're welcome to join. I don't know, man. Life's just been so busy the last few months, but I do plan to go back at some point. Diablo's a lot of fun.
well, Diablo does take it takes quite a bit of your attention, and to me, I like it because I can just hop onto Diablo and I don't have to think.
Mm-hmm.
I can just run some, raids or whatever, and just.
I do still play Hellsinger from time to time on my Steam Deck. It's actually really fun. It's a rhythm game, but it's entirely heavy metal rhythm, where if you're hitting the music notes in time like you're supposed to, you get power-ups and you fight demons and stuff. It's actually a really cool game if you never checked it out and you like metal.
Yeah.
And then the other day, I saw an advertisement for a game that's coming out called Lords of Metal, and I looked into it to see what it is, and it's basically like a park simulator kind of thing. Like you basically manage a concert venue where all these metal bands come and play, and like you have to make sure they have the right equipment, and kind of like a roller coaster tycoon, but for concerts, for metal concerts. I thought it was a kind of cool, interesting idea. I'm looking forward to that coming out. I'll probably give that a little bit of playtime. I'm sure Carrie will.
I'm guessing. Oh yeah.
We'll lose Carrie for a few months.
If that's a roller coaster tycoon type game, but with metal, Carrie's probably pre-ordered.
We'll never see him again.
So.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on then. That does it for our topic, metal and pop culture. I want to see more of it. I hope you guys do too. Gojira was fucking awesome at the Olympics. I would love it if we could get more representation like that on a bigger world stage, because the music's awesome and people need to find out about it. That's how I feel.
And not just as a comedy thing. Mm-hmm. Like take it seriously. These musicians are putting their blood, sweat, and tears into this. Not everything needs to be a joke, but yeah, I'd like to see more representation of how good these bands are. Like I would love to see In Vain do a full-blown interview, or like if they could be on one of the nighttime talk shows or something. Just they really should. There's definitely bands that we listen to that would easily translate to nighttime TV. So give them a shot.
I mean, it used to be that way. Like I remember, like even the daytime talk shows would have metal bands come on and play sometimes when I was in the 80s and 90s. But like there's not enough interest these days. And I guess there won't be until people start clamoring for it. But Gojira was a really good first step in that direction. And all I can say is that I hope the younger generation's discovery of classic rock leads to a future where metal is more prevalent than its counterpart music,
Mm.
All right, so moving on. Pickups. Picked up anything cool recently, Christian?
Yeah, I got a few. I always do the Amazon searches looking for cheap albums, and I was able to pick up Death, Individual Thought Patterns. I think I paid $12 for it.
Nice.
Overkill, WFO. Fantastic Overkill album. I'm a big Overkill fan. I know Blitz's vocals are kind of hit or miss for people, but the music is absolutely top tier thrash. And it's kind of funny because the week 72 Seasons from Metallica got put out, the latest Overkill album was also released that same week. And sorry to say that latest Overkill album fucking smokes 72 Seasons. If you're a thrash fan, there was only one choice that week. So I got WFO. Then I found the band Obscura and their album Diluvium on Amazon, and $8.
Nice.
$8. You can't beat that.
Should have sent me a link.
Then, well, I was, after I ordered it, I went back and I was clicking on it to send it to you, and the
deal was gone.
Changed to,
yeah.
Well, it changed to 21, I think, $21. I'm not sure why.
Sometimes they only have one copy or
happens.
something of the special.
I don't know.
I've seen that too.
Well, it was just wrapped in plastic, and it didn't even look like it was meant for a vinyl album to be in that plastic. and then it was just taped shut.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to get with Amazon.
I'm guessing it's a return. Yeah,
I've had them come.
I'm guessing it was a return.
I've had them come just with a shipping sticker slapped on the front of the album itself and then plopped on my doorstep. So
Yeah.
sometimes they package them
Terrible
well,
idea.
sometimes not. I've had them come in giant boxes too. It's weird.
Yep. That is weird to me too. I have one album and it's this enormous box and they have like 14 things of air things in there and one vinyl album. And you're just, what the fuck?
Yeah,
okay, whatever.
It's either some Amazon employee trolling me or else the automated system that does it is just dumb.
Yeah. Otherwise, I got my In Flames Colony album.
Nice.
Showed up. So I have that. And my Inophilian album, which was released today. And by the way, spoiler, that's going to be on the next episode.
Yeah, it's actually.
Yeah, it's a fantastic album. And that showed up today, Reaper Dawn. So that's all of my pickups.
Well, I also got my missing In Flames represses. I already had Colony, but Lunar Strain showed up, and so did the other one I ordered. It's not Siren Charms, it's the other one. I also got the Forgotten Tomb album on vinyl, Hail Spirit Noir, Cryptic Hatred. My Night Rage album finally made it here.
Nice.
I ordered
I wonder why yours was like 3 weeks later
I don't
than
know
mine.
why,
It's kind of
but
weird.
I'm glad to have it. It's a great album. My Amiensis Reclamation Part 2 got ordered. I also got a patch for Reclamation from Hearth Patches. I'm thinking I'm going to pull off something on my vest to make space for it. So I may just make a change there. And then also picked up some albums from Black Lion Records, and I know you did too. They have another 80% off sale going on right now. I'm actually going to give them a shout out. If you go to the Black Lion Records Bandcamp or their Big Cartel site and you use the promo code BlackLion80, you can get 80% off anything on the site, which is crazy. Also for their digital music, they're doing a name your price thing, so you can get any of the digital music for free as well. So Black Lion has a lot of great artists in their catalog. 80% is a tremendous discount. Christian and I both got like 6 records for $35 shipped or something, which is just nuts.
And just an FYI, if you do the Big Cartel, that 80% off actually goes on to the shipping too, which surprised me.
Yeah.
The Bandcamp, that is not the case.
But it's still a good deal. It's still a good deal if you get it on Bandcamp.
Still fantastic deal.
You're not going to find records for that cheap anywhere else, especially not good stuff. So highly recommend.
Yeah. And even though you can name your price on the digital stuff, at least throw them $1 or something. I even felt bad because I got like 6 records for $35, and I was like, oh man, I feel bad about. I almost feel like I'm getting over or something. Now, granted, this is what they put into place, so I'm just taking advantage of it, I guess. But
I think they're just trying to clear out inventory space because they have a whole bunch of new stuff coming in. But I mean, their loss is our gain, so definitely support them.
And
there's some good stuff out there.
There's some fantastic bands on that label.
Actually, they have all 3 of the Cavane albums, so if you're missing any of those on vinyl or CD, or if you want Cavane shirts or anything like that, it's a good place to get them for 80% off. All right, well, that does it for my pickups too. We're going to close out the show with a blast from the past. I have been really eagerly anticipating the Amorphis Dark Tranquility and Fires in the Distance show that's coming up. Christian and I got the opportunity to hear the new Dark Tranquility album early, and it is absolutely killer. But it's also made me want to listen to Amorphis more as well. So they put out a new live album recently called Live at Tavastia. And it's Tales of the Thousand Lakes in its entirety. So even though this is a blast from the past, I'm going to go ahead and play the live version of the Blast from the Past track just because it's so well done. So we're going to close out the show with Amorphis, Tales from the Thousand Lakes, live at Tavastia. And the track I'm going to play is Into Hiding. So I hope you guys enjoy that. And we will see you back in a couple of weeks.
Okay. Oh, and if you're into vinyl at all, pick that album up, that Live in Tavastia. That is a fantastic album. And yes, it is Tales from Thousand Lakes, but it's so well done.
Yeah, it's
Holy shit.
one of the best live albums I've ever heard. I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, this has been fun. We'll be back in a couple weeks with a bunch of new music.
Alrighty. See ya.
See ya.